Today we're making Parmesan and herb crusted salmon on the Hasty Bake. You don't want to miss this one. Admittedly, we cook a lot of red meat around here. We cook a lot of beef, we cook a lot of chicken, we cook a lot of pork. One thing we don't cook a lot of is fish. But this is one of my absolute favorite fish recipes. It's unbelievably easy to do. It cooks up great, it feeds the whole family, and it doesn't take very long. We're gonna do some Parmesan and herb crusted salmon. What I have here is a whole salmon fillet from my local fish market. That right there is an entire fillet of salmon. So we're not talking about the little pieces, we're talking about the whole thing. Now what I love about this recipe is not only does it make a very tender piece of salmon, but it absolutely is just loaded with flavor. Now salmon has a lot of flavor anyway. Some people like salmon. You could do this with another cut of fish, but salmon is just such a favorite around here. So we're absolutely gonna have some fun with this today. Now I like doing it on a cedar plank. You don't have to. You can do it on butcher paper. You can do it on a pizza screen. You can do it right on top of the grill. But I like doing it on the cedar plank because I feel like it gets a little bit extra smoke in it, and it's also pretty easy to move around. But this salmon fillet is obviously a little bit bigger than this cedar plank. So I'm actually gonna cut this thing in half, and we're gonna do 2 fillets. So I'm just marking where my cut lines are. Cutting that in half. A little hard to get through the skin, so you wanna make sure you use a good sharp knife. I'm gonna take these fillets, I'm gonna put them skin side down on this piece of cedar. Now, when it comes to cedar, some people soak, some people don't. If you have the time and you thought about it, soaking is great. It doesn't hurt anything. You don't necessarily have to soak though to have it work. So here's how we're gonna do this. Is I'm gonna take these things right here and move to the side because we're gonna do a little bit of prep. First things first, we're gonna hit the garlic. Now what I love to do with garlic when I'm mixing it into a recipe like this, and it's kind of end up being in a rub or a lather, is I like to take my microplane and I like to microplane my garlic. Now what this is gonna allow you to do is get some really fine pieces of garlic mixed in with everything that's down in your rub. It minces the garlic very easily. It saves you the time of having to do a real fine chop with a knife. It's just a very efficient way to get some minced garlic into your dish and be able to spread it all around. Around here we absolutely love garlic. If a recipe calls for 1 clove, we put 4 in it. If it calls for 4 cloves, we put 8. In our book, the only recipe that you should be using 1 clove of garlic for is a recipe for 1 clove of garlic, and even then use 2. So what I have in there is all that garlic. Now you can see how absolutely fine minced that garlic is. We're gonna take ourselves a lemon. Now I like to fine cut these lemons. So in my mind, I would rather put more fine pieces on there than thick pieces, because the finer it is, the easier it is to get the juice out of the lemon and for it really to leach down into the salmon. All right, now it's time to actually start prepping the salmon. So we're gonna bring a piece over, and here's how we do it. Is I take this bowl of minced garlic, I'm gonna mix into it a bunch of mayonnaise. Now, how much? I don't know, probably about a cup or so. Enough to cover both pieces of the salmon. Now, I do take a couple of these squirts of lemon, drop that down inside. We'll garnish the top of it with some of them. But I'll take 2 or 3 rings, maybe the rest of that half, kind of mix that down in. And I really do use my hands on this, and I'll tell you why. Because it just makes it that much easier to coat the top of this salmon. So first things first, we're gonna hit the top of this salmon with some, this is Plowboy's Fin and Feather Citrus and Garlic and Herb. This is where our herb crust is gonna come from. It's got some orange and lemon zest in it. It's got some other garlic in it. It's a great rub on its own. You can put some of that in your mayonnaise too if you want. But then I'm just gonna go ahead and start coating this thing down with mayonnaise. Now, we've talked about this in other recipes, but mayonnaise is a binder, but it's also a fat. And when you put fat like this on fish, what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna have an outstanding browning effect. It's not gonna end up tasting like mayonnaise when it's all said and done. It really does act as a binder, but it has that fat in there that does a wonderful job of browning, and that's what we wanna do. So, get our other piece here. Oh, let's get our seasoning on there first. Don't wanna forget that. This seasoning's a really, really good standby for fish. If you don't have anything else on hand, this just kind of has everything all in one that you're gonna want. So coat this down real good. So that cup of mayonnaise and those 5 or 6 cloves of garlic really did a good job of covering this entire fillet of fish. Now, how many pounds was this? I'm not exactly sure. It's probably about 22 inches long. It just kind of depends on, you know, where you get it from, what market you get it from. But there's your topping right there. So you have your citrus and your herb, you have your mayonnaise, you have your lemon. I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna top this now with a bunch of Parmesan, because this is gonna be what ends up crisping up on the top and taking this recipe to the next level. Now we're gonna be roasting this in the top of our cooker at about 300 degrees. So you're gonna get a wonderful browning on it. That mayonnaise and that garlic is gonna make sure everything stays really nice and moist. This lemon is gonna do the same. This salmon is gonna go on the top rack. Now, if you don't have a top rack, you just want to get it away from the fire the best you can, so it has a chance to kind of gather that radiant heat coming off the top of the cooker without having the direct fire underneath it. We're gonna cook the stuff to an internal temperature of 145. It's gonna be flaky, it's gonna be bubbly, it's gonna be wonderful. We'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, well, this salmon is off, and oh my goodness, does it look good. You got a wonderful, nice brown charred effect up here. Got melted Parmesan. You can tell that lemon did its job. The mayonnaise did its job. These things look absolutely phenomenal. Gonna test the flakiness of it. Look at that, I mean, it just flakes right off. Looks so tender. That is absolutely outstanding. Can't wait to pair that with some good wild rice. Just mix of flavors that you cannot believe. Everything there did its job. So thank you for joining us. This is a very easy recipe. Obviously doesn't take very long. Those things have been in there for about 45 minutes, maybe coming up close to an hour. But it's something easy you can do on a weeknight. Really healthy with a fish. Great lemon flavor. I mean, everything just over the top. So thanks for joining us. We want to do more of these, so I hope you guys will continue to join us, and we will see you next time.